Welcome to the deep dive. Our goal today really is to give you that shortcut to understanding what's happening at the strategic level so you don't have to sift through all the earnings call details yourself.
Exactly.
We're diving into Enphase Energy's Q3 2025 results and their outlook, but we're focusing laser sharp just on the CEO's opening strategic overview.
Yeah, and it's a really crucial one this time. Anyone tracking solar, storage, you need to understand this because, well, the CEO's juggling two quite different things at once.
Right.
You've got this really strong internal performance, some great growth metrics, but then externally, the market's, pretty volatile,
Yeah.
especially outside the U.S.
That's the tension, isn't it? That's what
Yeah.
we need to unpack. So the mission is absorb the key wins operationally, figure out their strategy for handling this market choppiness, and look at the new products they think will drive growth.
And some of those products sound pretty groundbreaking.
Oh, definitely. But first, that Q3 performance, on the surface, it looks great.
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, the headlines jump out, right? $410.4 million in quarterly revenue. That's the best they've done in 2 years.
Wow.
And it wasn't just, pushing boxes. They shipped a record 195 megawatt hours of batteries. So execution looks solid, even with all the market noise.
Okay, so let's break down Q3. That $410 million number, 1.77 million microinverters, those record batteries.
Yeah.
How did they get there?
Well, the first thing, and it's important context, is that $70.9 million of that revenue was from safe harbor.
Ah, the pull-in.
Exactly.
That-
Customers buying inventory early, ahead of potential regulatory changes or deadlines.
Yeah.
So it pulled sales forward from, maybe Q4 or even Q1 next year into Q3. It inflates the Q3 number a bit.
Right, at the expense of future quarters. But even with that pull-in factor, the margins tell a story about efficiency, don't they?
They really do. Non-GAAP gross margin was 49%.
Yeah.
That's actually above their own guidance.
Mm.
And that flows down to a 30% non-GAAP operating income. 30% OI in this environment. That suggests they're running things very tightly, despite all the supply chain and policy uncertainty.
Mm-hmm. It's a strong operational showing.
And it goes beyond just manufacturing. They kept their customer service rating high NPS of 77, which is quite good,
Right.
and average call wait times under 2 minutes.
That's not easy.
No.
Yeah.
And the CEO mentioned they're launching an AI-powered assistant in the Enphase app soon. They seem focused on using tech to keep improving that customer experience, keep things efficient.
Makes sense. Okay, let's shift gears to something you touched on, the domestic angle. This seems like a huge part of their strategy. The CEO really emphasized U.S. manufacturing.
Oh, absolutely. It's presented as a major competitive advantage.
Yeah.
They shipped 1.53 million microinverters from their U.S. plants. And the big kicker, that lets them book the 45X production tax credits.
Which is just massive from a subsidy perspective.
It completely changes the unit cost picture. And it's not just micros. U.S. battery production ramped up significantly, too. 67.5 megawatt hours shipped from the U.S. in Q3, up from about 47 in Q2.
And the IQ Battery 10C, that's now fully U.S. made.
Yeah, that's the key point. Built in the U.S., using U.S.-made microinverters, U.S.-made management systems, the whole package hits over 45% domestic content.
So this isn't just like patriotism. This is hard-nosed strategy dealing with U.S. policy and, frankly, geopolitical risk.
Precisely. The very calculated move. Hitting that domestic content target does two critical things for their customers, mainly their installers.
Okay.
One, it helps those installers qualify for the 10% domestic content adder bonus on the investment tax credit, the ITC.
Yeah.
That's extra money.
Right, free money, essentially.
And two, maybe even more critical long-term, it helps them meet these increasingly tough foreign entity of concern, FEOC compliance rules.
The FEOC rules. Yeah.
So they're basically building a product line that sidesteps a lot of potential regulatory headaches, especially as the market shifts more towards third-party ownership or TPO heading into 2026. It's a compliance shield.
That frames the U.S. manufacturing push very differently. Less cost, more strategic necessity.
Okay, so strong U.S. performance, domestic focus. But that brings us to the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
Segment 2. This stark difference between regions.
Yeah, the revenue mix tells the story. 85% U.S., only 15% international in Q3. That's quite
Very skewed. U.S. revenue jumped 29% from Q2, helped by demand and that safe harbor polling we talked about.
But Europe really struggled. Revenue there dropped sharply, down 38% sequentially. That's a $25 million hit compared to Q2. The contraction there is real.
So they're not pulling out of Europe, but they have to pivot, right? What's the strategy?
It seems to be doubling down on storage where the economics make sense. Look at the Netherlands. Solar demand itself is soft right now because they're phasing out net metering by the end of
Right,
2026.
the classic net metering sunset issue. But the CEO sees this as a huge battery opportunity. You've got 475,000 existing solar homes there. Suddenly, sending power back to the grid isn't worth much, maybe even costs money with export penalties rising.
So self-consumption becomes king.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The battery goes from nice to have to almost essential to get value from your solar. The CEO threw out a number, a $2 billion total market opportunity just for batteries in the Netherlands, unlocked by this policy shift.
Wow. And they're moving on this.
Yeah, they talked about a partnership with Ascent, which is a big energy provider there. They're doing a smart steering virtual power plant program, a VPP.
Okay, VPPs. How does that work for the customer?
It's incentive-based. If customers let Ascent manage their battery, charge it when power is cheap, discharge it when it's valuable to the grid, they get a fixed monthly payment, up to 122 euros, depending on the battery size.
That's clever. It helps pay for the battery by turning it into a grid asset.
Precisely. It changes the whole value discussion. It's not just backup or self-use. It's grid participation.
That feels like the future model. What about other big European markets like France and Germany?
Still challenging. According to the CEO, residential demand was muted. Policy issues, again, lower export payments in France, kind of stop-start incentive programs in Germany.
So the focus there is also shifting.
Yeah, very much towards solar plus battery. It's all about maximizing self-consumption when export isn't attractive.
Okay. Any bright spots internationally?
Australia, actually.
Mm.
Storage demand there is picking up, apparently boosted by a battery rebate program that kicked in after July 2025.
Ah, rebates help.
They do. And Enphase launched a specific product for that market, the FlexPhase battery. It handles three-phase backup and offers flexible power output, which is needed because Australian utilities have complex rules about how much power you can export. So they're tailoring products.
Got it. Okay, let's swing back to the U.S. and talk about the immediate future. Q4 outlook, this looming tax credit cliff, and, well, it sounds like a deliberate slowdown.
Yeah, this part is a bit counterintuitive. You have conflicting signals. On one hand, the CEO said U.S. sell-through actual sales to homeowners was strong in early October, up over 20%.
Driven by?
People rushing to get systems installed before the big 25D residential tax credit expires at the end of this year.
Yeah.
So sell-through forecast for the quarter is actually pretty high, $350 million to $400 million.
Okay, high demand, high sell-through, so revenue guidance should be high too, right?
You'd think so, but no. The revenue guidance for Q4 is lower than the sell-through forecast, $310 million to $350 million.
Okay, why the gap?
Two main reasons laid out clearly. First, the accounting piece we already mentioned, that $70.9 million in safe harbor revenue got booked in Q3, so it's not available for Q4.
Right, the pull-in effect. What's the second reason?
This one's purely strategic. They are intentionally shipping less product than is being sold through. They are actively trying to destock the channel.
Okay, hold on. They're deliberately shipping less, leaving sales on the table in Q4 to clear out inventory held by their distributors and installers.
That's exactly it. They want the channel to be lean heading into 2026.
Why the urgency?
Because they know Q1 2026 is going to be rough. The 25D tax credit cliff is real. They actually gave a preliminary revenue number for Q1 26,
Yeah.
$250 million.
Oof, it's a big drop from Q3 and Q4 levels.
Yeah, they're calling it the expected cycle trough. So by destocking the channel now, even though it hurts Q4 revenue, they avoid having distributors stuck with tons of inventory when demand potentially craters in Q1 after the tax credit expires. It's about managing the landing.
A controlled deceleration. Makes sense. Strategically painful, perhaps, but sensible. So Q1 26 is the trough. How do they climb out? What helps the recovery through the rest of 2026?
They pointed to three external factors they expect will help. First, rising electricity prices in the U.S. They said at a 5% increase expected this winter alone, which generally helps solar's appeal. Second, hopefully declining interest rates. Makes financing easier for homeowners. And third, new financing options coming online, which leads us right into their product and solution strategy for navigating that post-tax credit world.
Right, because the financing piece is critical without that 30% federal credit. They talked about the shift to TPO, third-party ownership, and specifically the prepaid lease, or PPL.
Yeah, the PPL model is positioned as a key bridge for 2026. It's designed to work around the loss of the residential 25D credit.
How does it do that?
Well, the TPO provider, the company that owns the system, they can claim the commercial 48E tax credit. The homeowner then gets either a lower upfront lease prepayment or just lower monthly lease payments.
And the homeowner can still buy the system later.
Usually, yes, often after 5 years or so. But the crucial claim from the CEO was that this PPL structure makes the overall economics similar to today's solar loan economics with the 30% to 25D tax credit.
If they can pull that off, if they can replicate today's value proposition using leases in 2026,
Well,
that's how they bridge the gap.
that seems to be the plan on the financial side. That's the defense. Now for the offense, innovation, starting with batteries. The big focus is the 4th-gen IQ Battery 10C.
What's new there?
Key improvements are 30% higher energy density, takes up 62% less wall space, which installers love, and it lowers the installation cost, especially for backup systems.
Installation cost and complexity are huge factors.
Absolutely. They also highlighted the IQ meter collar. Sounds simple, but it streamlines installing whole home backup and apparently has approval from 39 U.S. utilities already.
And this all ties into VPPs.
Yes, they mentioned being active in over 53 VPP programs globally now. They're clearly pushing the battery as more than just storage. It's a grid resource.
Okay, beyond residential batteries, they're moving into commercial.
Big time. This is a major expansion. They're launching the IQ9N commercial microinverter in December, and this is their first product using gallium nitride GaN technology.
GaN tech, that's a significant semiconductor shift, isn't it, away from silicon?
It is. GaN allows for higher efficiency, faster switching, better heat management. For this product, it means they can now address the 480-volt, three-phase commercial solar market in the U.S. That's a segment they couldn't play in before.
And how big is that market?
The CEO estimated it at around a $400 million total addressable market for them. So significant new territory.
And connecting back to the domestic strategy.
Right. The IQ9 is expected to be compliant with FEE-Asia rules and domestic content requirements right out of the gate. So they enter this big new market, which has been historically dominated by Chinese suppliers, with a compliant, high-tech alternative. It's a smart entry point.
Very strategic. Okay, now, the EV charging part, this sounded potentially revolutionary.
Agreed. This was maybe the most forward-looking piece. They've got the IQ EV Charger 2 shipping internationally now, standard stuff. But the one to watch is the IQ bidirectional EV charger.
Bidirectional, vehicle-to-home V2H.
Exactly. It's an 11-kilowatt unit planned for mid-2026 launch, and it uses 3 of those new GaN-based microinverters internally.
3 micros just in the charger. That's serious power electronics.
It is, but here's the part that really grabbed my attention, the strategic implication. The CEO stated that when you pair this BD charger only with that simple IQ meter collar, it offers one of the lowest cost and simplest ways to provide whole home backup, even without rooftop solar or home batteries.
Wait, backup power just from the car and the meter collar? No solar panels, no Powerwall style battery needed?
That's the claim. Your EV's battery becomes your home backup source during an outage, managed through their system. Think about the implications for the customer journey.
It completely flips the script. Right now, people think solar first, maybe add a battery later for resilience. This suggests the EV charger could become the entry point for home energy resilience.
Precisely. You buy the charger because you have an EV, and boom, you've got basic whole home backup. It's potentially a much cheaper, more accessible first step towards energy independence than a full solar plus storage system. Then maybe you add solar later.
That could fundamentally change how people approach home energy.
Wow.
And the ultimate goal is
keep pushing costs down. Launching the 5th-gen battery and the IQ9 residential microinverters, leveraging GaN, to get what the CEO called a step-change reduction in system cost in both the U.S. and Europe.
So, summarizing the CEO's strategy here, it feels like it's about building walls and bridges. Walls through domestic production and compliance to defend their U.S. position, and bridges through new tech like GaN, new markets like commercial, and game-changing products like BD charging to cross over the market volatility and policy gaps.
That's a good way to put it. Despite the headwinds, the 25D cliff, the channel destocking hurting Q4 numbers, the message was confidence. Confidence that they can control enough levers, innovation, cost, partnerships, market expansion to drive growth beyond that Q1 trough. They're focused on owning the economics of whatever the market looks like in 2026.
Okay, so here's the provocative thought to leave you with. Building on that BD charger point, we just heard the CEO position the IQ BD EV charger plus the meter collar as a low-cost path to whole home backup without needing solar or a home battery first.
Yeah.
If that capability truly takes hold and reshapes how homeowners think about resilience, making basic backup cheap and independent from solar, how quickly does the EV charger become the first piece of the energy independence puzzle for many people instead of the solar panels? If the entry point shifts from the roof to the garage, what does that do to the entire solar sales process and industry structure come 2026 and beyond? Something to definitely watch.